Good afternoon, cigar lovers. It's Tam here again, and welcome to another review hosted by the gentleman at Cigarsindia.in, India's largest and most trusted online retailer of cigars. I'd like to begin by apologizing for the hiatus. It's just that I think we've all been pretty busy, and Abhilash has been on holiday, so good for him. He had a nice trip. Anyway, we're back and we're going to be reviewing another cigar today, and this is going to be an interesting one yet again. This is the Romeo and Julieta Cedros Deluxe No. 2, and it comes in a very interesting packaging, and I believe this would be come in a standard box, either an SLB box or a cabinet selection box, but they would be individually wrapped in this cedar wood wrapping. And this gives a clue as to why it's called Cedros, which I'll explain in a short while. Now, just to give you an idea about what this cigar is, it's got a 42 ring gauge and it's by 5 5/8 inches. It's described as a parejo, or was a corona size, parejo shape, which is pretty much a standard vitola. This cigar has been described as a very interesting cigar by a number of cigar aficionados. I won't go into all the names, but it's got universal appeal. But having said that, it also has gone under the radar quite a lot, and is a very underrated cigar. People always say this type of cigar is a bit of a lightweight, good for the occasional smoke, so they don't buy it in large stocks and consider aging it. Anyway, I'll get onto these issues as we go through the cigar, but let's just go through the physical description of the cigar, and also the pre-light flavor and aroma characteristics. So the way it's actually presented is beautiful. It's got a nice, as I said, a cedar wood wrapper on it, and in Spanish, Cedros means cedar. So I'm not sure whether if the eagle-eyed amongst you would like to comment on this, but Cedros, is that the plural or the singular? I'm not sure, because in the singular it would be Cedro, and this actually has an S at the end. And as I said, this is a deluxe No. 2. They come in 3 vitolas. You have a deluxe No. 1, a deluxe No. 2, and a deluxe No. 3. The deluxe No. 1 is a Lonsdale size. This is a Corona, and I'll just let you know what the deluxe No. 3 size is. Anyway, going back to the look of it, just beautifully presented, and I think the idea would be to take this out carefully. It's got a lovely smell. You can just pick out the smell of the cedar in this, and there is a reason for putting this on the cigar, which again I'll explain in a short while. But beautiful smell, beautiful construction. So I'll just put this away and go to the cigar itself. Beautiful construction, firm but not too firm, so it should be an interesting draw. And these cigars have been renowned for having a beautiful burn quality. So again, this will be put to the test as we go through the smoke. Nice silky smooth wrapper, beautiful construction. The smell is, I can smell the cedar wood here, but now I'm picking up hints of leather and very aged tobacco. This cigar has been beautifully looked after. So, having looked at it, I'm just going for the pre-light aroma and taste of the cigar, if you will. There's nothing really coming out, but you just get what you'd expect of a really decent Cuban cigar. More of the smell is coming out. I think in terms of taste, this will only be revealed once it's actually lit. So without further ado, let's light it. picking up a lot of aged tobacco, just a lot of leather, well-maintained aged leather. There's a tiny hint of spice right at the end, and it hit me right in the middle of the tongue towards the back. But there's also some sweetness at the very start, sugary kind of sweetness. When I say sugary, no, I mean a molasses kind of sweetness. But again, it's just a hint, it's not overpowering in any way. It's offering quite a lot to begin with, so this should be a very interesting smoke. It's got a lot of flavour and a lot of character, and it is very saucy, as a friend who's just tried it suggested, like the lid, or you could say, of a tomato ketchup bottle or something, which is maybe congealed a bit, but let's not go too far into it, but it has that kind of quality. I'd also like to add that if you want further background information on Romeo and Julieta's generally, I did another review. I think it was for the number 2, I'm not quite sure. Churchill. Sorry, I've just been informed it's Churchill, and there's a lot more information I provide on that particular review of the cigar. So please do check out the link on that if you want to get a deeper understanding and background of the company. So in this case, I'll just be concentrating pretty much on this particular vitola, and also the taste and overall experience of smoking the Deluxe number 2 in particular. So I haven't been disappointed in terms of look, I haven't been disappointed in terms of the pre-light taste, and the aroma of the cigar has just been fantastic. There is a slight concern, as I said before, that it is on the slightly firmer side, but let's hope that it's not too much of a problem, because so far this has been brilliant. Brilliant on the eyes, brilliant on the nose, brilliant on the tongue. The smoke is just what you'd expect from a really nice Cuban cigar. There's no mistake about it. You're walking down the street and someone's puffing away on this, this is a lucky fellow smoking, whether it be a he or a she, is enjoying a nice Cuban smoke. So again, no disappointment there. Another tick. And let's just go into the first draw. There was initially a hint of greenness coming through it. I wouldn't say it was tannic, I'd say it was actually vegetal, a kind of grassy kind of green. But that's subdued quite quickly. And what I am picking up is some spicy note, and also a lot of sweetness actually. Green tinge is coming back a bit, but I'm also picking up bean flavors, and I'm talking about roasted coffee bean flavors. There is still that sweetness. In terms of other characteristics, I'm just getting a lot of what you'd expect of archetype or Cuban smoke. And it is quite punchy actually. It has got a bit of kick to it, a bit of bite to it. not pepperiness, but it's got a certain pungency, potency to it, which I think, again, we've done a breakdown of this on some of my other reviews, so probably go back to that and describe what that particular potency is in a short while. So as we were reviewing this, I did describe it as being slightly greenish or vegetal, but taking it a step back and looking at our other reviews, it has a more of a botanical kind of nature to it. It's very, is it floral? No, not floral, but it has that certain medicinal quality to it. Now the tannins are also starting to pick up. But that sweetness is still there in the background. I'll just let this settle and go into a bit of background on this particular vitola. Now, as I said, the third Cedro Deluxe is it's actually a Petit Corona size, and they've been described as having very similar tastes, but slightly milder than the general vitolas available within the Romeo and Julieta range. Again, I guess this is for this is personal and it's subjective. So some people have said it's actually stronger, some people have said it's milder. I think the best person to decide on that would be you, if you give it a try. Compare it to another Romeo and Julieta. And in that case, I would suggest trying it against Corona, because they're the same or similar sizes. But the process is quite different. There, it's actually left rather than wrapped in this particular cedar wrapper. The factory or the master blenders would have a reason for wrapping each of these cigars. Otherwise, as I said earlier, it would just be classified as a Corona. And this cedar wrapper plays a very important role. It imbibes the cigar with a lot of flavor and characteristics from the wood itself. As I said, from when I first smelt it and smelling the cigar, I could just tell that those beautiful flavors and the characters of the wood are actually being soaked up by the cigar. I don't think the cigar has been aged sufficiently long enough for it to actually get more and more of the flavors and characteristics of that particular wood. I would say possibly about under 3 years, because it has been slightly lighter than I would have expected it, or not having as much of the characteristics of the cedar wood. Generally, it's viewed that you need to age these cigars in the cedar wood, in your humidor or wherever you keep your cigars, for at least 3 years, ideally for 5 years, for the qualities of the cedar wood to be imbibed by the cigar itself. And this makes sense in a way, because if you're a whiskey lover, specifically a Scotch whiskey lover, you'd understand that a lot of the flavor of the whiskey itself comes from the barrels. And why shouldn't it be the same for cigars? Some of the ash has just dropped off. It's still delivering really wonderful smells and taste profiles. And I find it surprisingly quite punchy. And we just think it needs to be aged for some more time, another 2, 3, if not longer years, for it to develop its own unique character and justify that Cedros branding and label. Going back to the wrapping of each individual cigar with cedar wood, there has been discussions and debate on this as to what the benefits are, what the disadvantages are. And this is also, you can be said for the chivos, which I think is somewhere over there, which also is wrapped in the tube and has a cedar wood wrapping around it. This, I think, is a good test, because you can actually generally buy them singly, or whenever the opportunity presents. Of course, get them in the box. But the idea being to actually try to age it for at least 3 to 5 years, and see how it compares to, say, a Corona, Romeo and Julieta Corona, and hopefully identify the difference that the Cedros number 2 would take from the Corona. The tannins are picking up quite a lot now. So again, in my previous reviews, I always found and described the situation where if you encounter a lot of tannins, then that indicates, for me anyway, a cigar which has a lot of aging potential. And I think this cigar does have a lot of aging potential, which is a shame because it's so underrated, and generally people view this as a cigar which is an occasional smoke, which it shouldn't be. I would strongly urge you to, if not get a box, at least a few, keep them in a well-maintained humidor, and keep them aged for about, 5 to 10 years if possible, at least between 3 to 5, if that seems more like a realistic objective. Just to identify and understand the complexities, rich complexities, which are being brought about by the introduction of the cedar wood wrapping on the cigar. This is quite spicy, I find, compared to the other Romeo and Julietas. When we reviewed the Churchill, I don't think I mentioned it being too spicy, or even if it was, this certainly seems a lot spicier than that. That's another interesting character of this cigar. I'll let it settle in for a while and get back to you when if I detect any other flavor and character changes in this one. Just I'm about 1/3 of the way through the cigar now, and it just ticks all the right boxes. Although it was firm, as I said, the draw and burn has been beautiful. It actually, it's like an assistive control, like an assistive steering or assistive braking system in a car, where it says, okay, look, this is what I'm about. I should be smoked at a certain pace. So don't hurry me, but don't take your time either. So this actually does that. It doesn't force you, but you feel the compulsion to smoke a cigar at its own pace, and how best it should actually be enjoyed. So it's not a fast burn, but neither is it a slow burn. It's just right for this smoke. It's, again, very hard for me to describe that, but as you smoke it, you'll experience that condition, and you'll nevertheless enjoy that experience because it is a very pleasant ride. The aroma is wonderful. What you'd expect from a Cuban cigar in terms of smell and character, it's there. The burn, the construction, beautiful. The taste, flavor, again, beautiful. It's not overpowering, but it's not a washout either. It's got some potency, it's got some punch to it, but in a complex and an elegant kind of way. So it is, I would say, an ideal accompaniment to a number of things. It can take a certain battering in terms of spirits and alcohols and drinks that you may want to try to or pair it with, also in terms of food. So it can take some spicy foods if you choose to eat food while you're smoking, but definitely you can take some interesting drinks. You can take a very strong coffee. You'll be able to take some very good whiskies as well, strong flavored whiskies, and even sweet wines and other spirits which have quite noticeable characteristics in themselves. This can certainly hold its own against those, but not be overpowering. I think the key here is that it will be a nice balance and a nice complement to whatever you're pairing it with. Again, just wonderful smoke coming through, wonderful flavor. I'd just like to go back and touch upon that subject about trying this after aging it for a few years and comparing it with, say, the Corona. And to be fair, let's compare it with the Romeo and Julieta Corona. Generally, commentators have said that with that additional aging, not only do you get the flavor of the cedar wood coming through, but you get all these other complex and subtle flavors just bursting onto the scene after a 10-year aging process, which you typically don't tend to find in the Corona. Whether it comes from this wrapper, well, it's up for debate, but for me, I think yes, there is a certain I can conclusively say personally that yes, it does impart a flavour and a character to the cigar which shouldn't be dismissed. Otherwise, why go through the process, and an expensive process, also time-consuming process, of actually putting this wrapper on the cigar unless it had some kind of benefit. So it shouldn't be underrated, and I think that's the key here, that it has been underrated, so people have been very dismissive about it. I'm about probably halfway through, maybe slightly more than halfway through the cigar, and it hasn't been a disappointment at all. It's delivered everything. I've said that before, but it's just beautiful. If anything, it's actually picked up in some of its strength and aroma qualities. It's slightly more tannic. The floral botanical green quality, you could say, has dropped down quite significantly. In terms of flavors, I'm picking up heavily roasted coffee beans. There is a hint of sweetness there as well. Not the molasses kind of sweetness now, but I'm talking about the residual sweetness coming out of the roasted coffee bean itself. So it's not bitter, it's got that potency to it. Draw is still beautiful, nice even burn. I think this will be the experience throughout till the end. So I really wouldn't want to comment anymore unless I detect something really substantially different from my previous observations of this cigar. But I would like to sum up by saying this is a very underrated cigar. It should be given more respect than it currently deserves. It should be considered a cigar which is good for aging, 3 to 5 years, if not longer, 10, 15, if you can maintain your self-control for long enough. I think this is a cigar which will reward you and pay dividends handsomely. In terms of strength, generally people have said it's out of 5, you could say about 3 out of 5. I'd say it's actually a bit stronger than that. I'd say it's about 4 out of 5. I certainly found it stronger than the Churchill, Romeo y Julieta Churchill that I smoked. So that's an interesting quality. Marks out of 10. Since I've been away from reviews for about a month, I don't know whether my taste buds have been cleansed. I haven't smoked very much over this period. So maybe that affects it, but I'd certainly give it about an 8.5 to 9 out of 10 because of what it's actually offering and what potential it can actually give further down the line. I've been informed that the price point is around $750 per stick. So again, it's another bonus. Another bonus, another positive point, because for this type of cigar you'd expect to pay probably around 900 upwards. Excuse me. So another tick in the box for this cigar, hence the 8.5 to 9 out of 10. Hope you like the review. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.